Historic Silverstone. For nearly 3/4 of a century, this circuit has been hailed as the center of British motorsport. Filled with moments in history familiar to many a race fan, our competitors today will attempt to add to those in their own way. We'll see who walks away with fond memories as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Racing Edge Esports Championship. And we'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman and Peter Mackay. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. The Silverstone of the mid-20th century, when races first began here, certainly looks nothing like what it does today. For a quick rundown on the venue as it stands in modern times, let's head down to our track guide.
Hey guys, I'm professional race car driver Daniel Morad, and this is your Racing Edge track guide at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So we head through Club Corner onto the start-finish straight. We cross the stripe to start the lap, heading into Abbey Corner. Very fast, slight dab of the brake, off the throttle, and back to power. Very fast section as we go right to left. We spot our braking point around the 100-meter board. As we head into the loop now, down to first gear, very important to get a clean exit as we head onto the Wellington straight now. We're going to be going up through the gears, very good passing opportunity coming up into Brooklands Corner, where we're going to be going into fifth gear, brake just past the 100-meter board, down to third, run the speed all the way through the corner, forget about the exit, leads right into Luffield. Almost a double apex corner here. We have to watch for the oversteer and exit. As we exit the corner, we head towards Cops. Another very quick corner. We're going to be approaching in fifth gear, braking just past the 100-meter board, down to fourth. Watch for the exit. You don't want to run wide there because you will get a slowdown penalty. Now we have the run down to Maggots, down one gear, into Beckett's now, down another gear. That leads us through Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight now, where we have another great passing opportunity where the slipstream is going to be important. We'll temporarily dip into sixth gear, braking just at the 100-meter board. Watch for locking in the RSR. Third gear, have to watch the exit because there's another slowdown penalty that could be had there. Braking just at the 100-meter board, down to second gear as we head into Vale. And in through Club, you have to watch the rear. The tires will go off throughout the race. That's something to watch for, and that's how we close the lap out here at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Love having the expert eye and driving of Daniel Morad to take us around these tracks this season. But Peter, we've got your overhead view of this place. Can you tell us a little bit more about Silverstone?
Well, Silverstone is coined the home of British motorsport, and this year we will celebrate the 70th anniversary of the British Grand Prix in slightly unusual circumstances, but nonetheless a significant milestone. Based just outside the town of Towcester in Northamptonshire in Motorsport Valley. A lot of the Formula One teams are based in close proximity to Silverstone. 18 turns around this new GP layout. We all still refer to it as the new layout, even though it was introduced back in 2010. Over 3 miles or 5 kilometres, and quite flat, a former World War II airbase, and lots of really high-speed corners. So particularly for our drivers in the 911 RSRs today, they're going to have a lot of fun using all those aerodynamics in some of Silverstone's fast bends.
Yeah, that RSR championship has been pretty interesting as well, Peter. I know you've been following that closely, and the wins are staying pretty tight between our two rivals up at the top, it seems.
They are. We're just getting into the business end of the championship here in the Racing Edge series. Alex Simonic went on a bit of a charge from Sebring. He had no points at Daytona and then won Sebring, Watkins Glen and Road Atlanta and came second last time out at Le Mans. So he tops the table on 95 points, but Caden Bin, our Daytona winner and Le Mans winner, also sitting on 87 points. So it's really, really close between those two standout drivers of the series. But don't forget Giuliano Romagnolo and Daniel Morad. They're both on 45 points apiece. And Alexander Davidson, the Scot, is on 42 points. With Gilham Pipers, he is on 38.
Then, of course, we have the GT4 class also fighting just as hard for money. And Sam, I understand you've got the update on those.
Yeah, well, Andrew Warren has 103 points here, 3 of those being bonus points, 25 points apiece for each win he has taken so far this season, 4 overall. Michael Morley, Michael Broomhead, and Sam Fellows have been regular frontrunners throughout the season. However, ever since Andrew Warren's came along, nobody has been able to take a W, and so they're all still chasing him and trying to beat him as they come here to Silverstone.
And we're well into the season now, so why don't we go over today's race details? Not much changes from week to week in this series. We're in round 6 out of 8, and then we have a finale 9th round where the top 10 are eligible to compete in that. There's the 2 different classes, the Porsche 991, that's the GTE class, and then the 718 is the GT4 class. 40-minute race as always, and the podium, each podium, top 3 in both classes, will get money for their efforts here today. It is a fixed setup though, so drivers don't have to worry about that, and everyone is pretty much on equal footing, except for, of course, the skill behind the wheel that they bring. Now, if you want to put your racing skills to the test on the track, visit racingedge.com and check out the latest listings for race cars and classic cars. From super quick McLarens to vintage Ferraris, racingedge.com will cater for your needs. Want to learn more about how to get into motor racing? Visit racingedge.com/media for more. Also, are you looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions? From official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow the link in the video description to learn more. We right now are in the midst of qualifying. Most of the drivers just finishing up as they only have 2 laps here, Sam, to try and get a time down. And I know in practice it was very, very close between the top and some of our classes here. What is it looking like right now?
Well, it's very, very close in GT4 qualifying. Thomas Cope has out-qualified Andrew Warren by 8/1000ths of a second. And that will be, if it stands, Thomas Cope's first pole position of the season. As a matter of fact, it will be the first time he's qualified better than 4th.
I'm looking up. I see Dakota Fripp, who has returned after a 1-race suspension and is not lost any speed at all. But look at this, Peter, another newcomer in to try and upset the apple carts. It looks like Hapola is on the outside of that front row right now.
Yes, Ilka Hapola has been right on the pace straight away today in practice and qualifying. We also have another very quick newcomer currently sitting in 5th position, Phil Deans, running exactly the same livery to Alex Simonic. So clearly those 2 teammates in the Simicube team. But yeah, good qualifying performance for Thomas Cope in GT4. And of course, this is in effect the home race for him because he comes from Great Britain. So great for him to be able to to topple the dominant Andrew Warring by 8/1000ths of a second around a lap as long as Silverstone. That is fantastic stuff.
Here's Tay Kim coming back to the line, but looks like Tay has already put in 2 laps on his qualifying. In fact, I believe everybody who can set a lap is done here today. So our grid is set, even with 14 seconds left to go. Tay is just getting practice in from here on out. In fact, he's the only one, as everybody else has taken it down to the lane and are working to get ready for the race itself. So let's go through our starting order. I'll take the top 10 here in our GTE class, which is pretty large here. Dakota Fripp will be on the pole with Ilka Happala, starting in second position. Alex Simonik, who currently has 3 wins, the most of anybody in this class right now, is going to be starting in third appropriately. Daniel Morad looking to stop him, get his first win of the season. Will be starting on the outside of row 2. Phil Deans will be P5 and Carlos Cantu in 6th position. Alex Ellis is in 7th with Caden Bin, all the way down in 8th unusually. Not used to seeing him that far down. Tay Kim will be starting P9, and then Peter Giuliano Romagnolo rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, there's a few surprises today in qualifying here at Silverstone. In 11th place will be Alex Herrera and the Scot Alexander Davidson in the number 3 car. Row 7 will be Nick Rowland and Aidan Shadbolt. Row 8 will be Ronald Verwey and Stefan Jeffrey. And rounding out the GTE runners will be Jehok Im. So, Sam, how are the GT4 runners looking?
Yeah, as mentioned previously, Thomas Cope has gotten his first pole of the season by 8 thousandths of a second over Andrew Warren. Michael Broomhead is starting there in 3rd place ahead of Christopher Bailey and Stephen Sheriff in 5th in class. But how about this for Phil Beans, by far his best qualifying performance of the season, 6th in class. Colin McEvitt, he wasn't at the last race at Le Mans, but he's back here. He's starting 7th ahead of Thomas Manning, Sidney Nye and Phil Schrader. And then we have Jeremy Steinhausen, Charles Bachel, Michael Ogren, Brian Zinn, and then 2 Van Morix rounding up the GT4 field, Damien and Lorenzo. I happen to notice there's no sign of Sam Fellows, so that's going to help Andrew Warren's championship campaign a little bit.
Yeah, worth noting that Phil Beans is actually Slad Dojsic, who's a regular in this series, and they've apparently messed with his name a little bit, so that's why he's going to show up there under that name in our timing and scoring today. Robertson didn't put a time in on our GTE class, but he is going to line up with his class as we now take off behind the pace car. Thankfully, a very short pace lap around here, and then we get going, because already that Porsche pace car, just after one corner, is going to be ducking down into the pit lane. There's that early pit entry you can see off to viewers left. So now Dakota Fripp has control of the field. He got a little bit of hot water last round that he showed up to here in the Racing Edge Esports Series, as he's now taking it through Vale and Club. Does he accelerate away now? No, he's keeping him checked up. Waiting. It's a long wait here. Looking for that green flag. Now it's off and away, almost already to the finish line there for Dakota Fripp. And everybody is right on top of him because of it. Simonik looking around to see what he can find. We're going to go 3 wide in a few cases, coming down through Abbey. Only one spin that I can see right now. Otherwise, we're good. Let's go to the GT4s.
Similarly, Thomas Cope bringing them down very slowly, almost right to the start line before he finally hits the loud pedal and gets a bit of a jump over Andrew Warren. But it's a clean start so far for the GT4 field as they head off into the first corner. Cope leading Warren, and then they're battling behind.
Like Caden Bin has had some problems coming into Village. I'm not sure what exactly happened there. Oh, and Daniel Morad is off as well. So a number of drivers in the GTE class making it past the first corner, but not much farther.
An eventful start to this race for our GTE runners, but for Alex Simonik, this is ideal. Look at that. He is there flanked by 2 of his Simicube teammates. So that is the ideal scenario when he's battling for a championship, because he's got not 1, but 2 alloys when trying to fend off Caden Bin, who is nowhere to be seen right now. So whatever problems he's had, it's dropped him right to the back of the pack of this field.
He's in 12th as we now check in on the GT4 starters. Thomas Cope still ahead of Andrew Warren. In fact, putting him under a lot of pressure here at the start as those two pull themselves away from Broomhead, down in 3rd by almost a second.
And Dojsic had a big incident down around the 3rd corner. So that's why you don't see him up front anymore, nor do you see Sheriff. I have a feeling he might have been involved with that too. But yeah, Warren really putting the pressure on Cope. Let's not forget, Warren has won all 4 races that he's contested in so far this season. He did it and around goes, was that Bailey from 4th place? You might see at the back of your picture, I think he's already exited stage left.
It was indeed him that had problems. The draft pulling Warren in on Cope as we take a glance back there at the wrecked Bailey. He gets it back going once again. Cope still holds on to the lead, and that means that Broomhead no longer has to look behind. He is well and truly clear here in this 3rd place and already closing in on our top 2.
Good start as well from Cantu as well in the number 27 machine. He's got away with the leaders in 4th place. He's had a couple of eventful races in the past, but good start so far to this race here at Silverstone. And the thing here at Silverstone is that it's the only FIA Grade A circuit, so it's got a lot of runoffs. So if you go off track, you can rejoin usually without too much of a fuss, unless, of course, you've made contact with another car. But lots of overtaking opportunities as well. So let's see how our GTE runners are doing. It's Fripp from Simonic from Deans, and Deans has let Simonic through, or Simonic has made his way through on his own merit. But this is an ideal scenario for the number 250 driver, our championship leader.
Absolutely. And with his teammates around, you have to imagine, even though they probably want the money, I don't think they're going to be interested in wrecking his chances of coming away with a championship itself. They're going to stay in order as they swing it down through Stowe. Behind them, a little bit of side-by-side between Alex Ellis and Carlos Cantu. Ellis trying to hold off Carlos, who has been charging through the field, and he's going to do it successfully here down into Vale.
That was a beautiful move, so tidy, very typical move there into that final section, and just on the brakes, down the gearbox, nice and clean from both drivers there. Fantastic stuff as Dakota Fripp puts the fastest lap of the race. Look at that, a 1 minute 56.4, which is electric fast for this stage, early stage of the race. Now, thinking of Caden Bin now in 9th position, he's only 10 seconds back, so whatever's happened, well, he just needs to trust his pace now, because he is seriously quick in that number 23 machine. And I think if he just keeps his head down, calms down, he's got 35 minutes. And as far as the championship's concerned, he just needs to try and limit the damage.
Yeah, he's up 3 positions since we last reported on him. So that's a good couple positions in basically a lap and a half here. And 35 minutes left to go to try and do something with it. You mentioned about Deans potentially letting Simonic by. Well, I wonder how long that might last, because Phil is still right underneath Simonic, and Simonic is losing touch with Fripp. So how hard are these loyalties entrenched in this team?
Or are we going to hear the Multi-21 coming over the radio, perhaps, at some point in this SimCube team? And that's the amazing element with sim racing, with the team atmosphere. Of course, setup's not relevant here because, of course, they're given a fixed setup. But often you'll see sim racing teams working hard together and kind of multiplying their data and testing. So on board with Phil Deans, newcomer to the series, but putting together amazing pace around this Silverstone circuit. But remember, in post-race interviews with Alex Simonic, we've often heard him talking about working hand in hand with his teammate and communicating with his teammate. So this will be an interesting dynamic to watch this unfold as the race goes on.
And still having to deal with that teammate in the Porsche GTE right behind him, giving him no room to relax as they complete lap 3 and now into lap 4 of this race. Not missing a whole lot down in the GT4s, although I take that back, as it looks like we got a little bit of a battle here. This is coming through Copse Corner. Looks like this is Sidney Nye ahead of Manning and McKevitt. This is for 4th place.
Yeah, and that's been a good start by Nye. He started all the way back in 9th on the grid, so he's quickly worked his way up into 4th position. The problem is these three are battling far behind the class leaders of Cope, Warren and Broomhead. I want to make a note. I mentioned that Sam Fellows wasn't here. Well, neither is Morley. So those are two championship contenders that Warren normally has to deal with. They're not here today. So really the only championship contender Warren's got to worry about is Michael Broomhead, who right now is sitting right behind him in third place, a little bit ahead of the battle on screen that we're watching for fourth.
Right now we're on board with Nye looking back from the gearbox. That is Manning just holding him honest as they come to complete yet another lap. They're starting to drop McKevitt a little bit here as they come on to the front stretch, the new front stretch for this circuit. Down through Abbey, and you swing it left through Farm. Let's see if he's going to get a chance. Manning's looking awful close, but here comes McKevitt with a big run as they fan out 3 wide into the corner, but nobody can make something happen with it.
The joy of Silverstone, this new layout. Normally when circuits get adapted from their original layout, often they meet with a lot of criticism, but actually I have to say the designers of this 2010 refresh of the Silverstone circuit done a great job, because there's so many great opportunities to overtake in that new section there as we head up towards Brooklands, heading past the prestigious British Racing Drivers Club, or BRDC as you might have heard it, that have owned the circuit since 1951.
McKevitt takes his spot. Oh, and he's looking for another already. 2 positions in 2 corners. And he might actually get it as he gets to the inside of Sidney Nye here. They go through Woodcote down past the old pits, which is now the support pits, up to Cop's Corner. He's got the inside. Nye starts to get a little bit of momentum back, but on the brakes. Look at that. Very brave from McKevitt. He blocks off the apex, and he's going to have the position.
Yeah, so this seems a bit more natural for McKevitt to be up in 4th place, getting his way towards the front. Now, even though his results this season have only been 6th, 10th, 6th and 9th, don't forget he was running 2nd at Daytona until he had a spin. He has run into a lot of bad luck this season, so it's nice to see him running up in 4th place right now. Maybe luck can swing his way today.
So as we hop up to the lead, Thomas Cope suddenly finds Andrew Waring all of them that closer. In fact, less than a car length behind. Look at the number 64 car just through the windscreen of Andrew Waring, who we ride on board with. Now, don't forget, we can't see it in here, but he's got Michael Broomhead still looming back there, ready to try to take advantage if these two start to tangle.
Yeah, but they've got a tiny bit of a gap over Broomhead right now, so this is the ideal time for Warren to attack, where he can try and do something, and if it doesn't work, he can retain 2nd place. But as I say that, Broomhead is much late on the brakes and the lead-in pair into that braking zone and runs them both back down. Cope a bit wide on the apex there, and that's not a good place to do it, because Warren could try and make something happen down the Wellington straight, although it looks like Cope's able to get a good exit and pull away from him just enough to maintain the lead for now.
Not close enough, even though it's heavy braking down here into Brooklands. You can see them staying in line. Cope, your leader. A little bit of a peek to the inside from Waring, who is in 2nd, and Broomhead staying in P3. So for all that we were lavishing praise on Caden Bin and his march forward, he's been having a bit of a battle back and forth with Aiden Shadbolt, who is not giving up, and he's been stuck in 9th place, had another go at it just now and couldn't quite get past. Actually, if we want to hop over to that, I think Ben's got another look here potentially. Oh, these two are very close on screen. I don't know where to look here as they come up to Maggots and Beckett's. Looks like they're going to stay in order. I can tell you that Caden did manage to get side by side, almost gets pushed out though through Brooklands.
It must be very frustrating for Caden Bin not being able to get by here. He knows he's got pace, but in underneath that car. But interestingly, in in practice, my apologies, he was a little bit behind the front runners of Fritz, Deans and Simonic, actually, more than we've seen at other circuits. So it could be that just Silverstone is a bit of a bogey track for him. That is over a series of this length. It is possible that a driver might just have a circuit that they don't particularly enjoy as they head through that section of Maggots, Beckett's and then Chapel, which Lewis Hamilton says is his favourite sequence of corners anywhere in the world. But now, this is the thing about the 911 RSR. There's really good draft potential, so we should, hopefully, for Caden Bin, see him getting the draft. And here it goes then as we head down towards Stowe Corner, gets up the inside, good move.
I don't know if it's done yet. Holding the long way
look at
around.
that.
Shadbolt stays with it. That's going to give him the inside into Vale. And as they both get on the binders, it's not done quite yet. He keeps it to the inside through Club. Aiden is not going to give it up. Neither has Ben. This is going to possibly come to tears if they keep this up for too long. But look at the room and respect that they are giving one another. They come down to Abby. Quick right-hander. And then into the left-hander of Farm once again. Caden Ben still struggling hard, using every inch that he can to try and take this position away. And now they come upon lap traffic. Finally, he gets it done. Oh, and a wreck in front of him.
Oh, this is not where Caden Ben wants to be, but like you said, Joe, brilliant respect between both drivers here. And it reminds me of the opening race at Daytona where he had that battle with Nico Verone. Just good racing room, running side by side. But that is Silverstone, just a most magnificent circuit for both cars and motorbikes to race wheel to wheel.
That was Bailey who got tipped around, and he gets going once again. All this action that's been happening, Sam, we haven't been able to go to you for a big implication on the lead battle in GT4.
Yeah, well, shortly after we cut away from it, Andrew Warren got it wrong, that Chapel. He ran off track. That's the corner they're going around right now, this little left-hander kink that leads on down to the Hannah Straight. And that means Warren had to serve a slowdown penalty. He dropped back to third place. And Broomhead made a mistake a couple of corners later and lost contact with Thomas Cope. So now first, second, and third are spread out a bit. But quite significantly here, this might be the first time that Andrew Warren has been defeated this season, although we have 26 minutes left to go, so who knows what can happen.
Now, if we missed something on screen that you want to know what happened, you can head over to GSRC.tv for all of our live timing and scoring. These are the leaders going through right now. And we also missed this change. Phil Deans is now up at the top. Simonic's still in second, but Fripp has gone from first to third for some reason.
He's gone to the back of the pack, perhaps. But the thing is that the draft is so important. Here at Silverstone, as they make their way through the traffic with good precision here, the draft is so big at Silverstone in these RSRs. And we're just getting a replay here. We're going to see the pass for the lead here as we head into turn 1 and 2. Heading into the new complex here. Phil D. Oh, maybe he got a slowdown penalty, yeah. Perhaps. If he got either a slowdown penalty or a deliberate slowdown to move to the back of the pack. He says, I've put enough hard work, Horizon. I'll just move to the back. So, back to our GT4 leaders with Sam.
Yeah, well, all of this traffic going by has really closed those gaps back up. The top three were spread out. Well, now they're all nose to tail once again. It remains Cope, Broomhead, and Warren. There hasn't been a change in the order, but there's definitely been a change in the intervals.
There's about half a second between Cope and Broomhead, and pretty much the same distance now as they come through Cops between Broomhead and Warring. Ooh, a much better exit, though, from Michael in the number 5 car as he approaches Thomas Cope. Takes a little bit of a peek, but can't quite do anything with it. Broomhead driving the number 5 with the Union Jack all over his car. I have to imagine that there might be a little bit of significance with those two together.
Yeah, absolutely. Battle of Britain there. And it kind of, whenever I see a Union Jack all over a car like that, it reminds me of the Austin Powers Jaguar, actually. That's what it kind of reminds me of. But riding on board, it was interesting riding on board with Andrew Warring, and you could just see some of the GTE runners going through there. And bearing in mind, you're running with more or less the fastest driver in the GT4 pack. And then the RSR 911s go past, and they're loud race cars as well. And they go past like you're in slow motion. And I can imagine that must be terrifying for some of the GT4 runners when the faster cars come through.
Now, with this combination on Broomhead's car, I'm getting a sense of Mansell mania going on here, and off the corner as a little bit of a better exit with Warring, who we ride on board with. That is the last of our GTE leaders, Shadbolt, coming through. No, excuse me, actually that's down to 9th for Shadbolt, just similarly liveried. They come up to Village once again. Oh, is it a little deep there for Cope? He was braking very late into that right-hander.
Well, I think Cope was kind of forced offline because of the GTE traffic going by. Oh, another bad exit from Broomhead there, and that might open him to attack. But they have all these GTE traffic trying to go round them 4 wide.
And barely managing to sneak through. That's Alex Herrera, who's in a fight with Stefan Jeffrey for position. Jeffrey blinking a little bit, and a bobble through the corner is going to hand it over to Jeffrey, who takes that 10th place away. This is making all kinds of headache for our GT4 leaders. Cope still up in front of Broomhead, in front of Waring. I'm amazed they haven't changed position in all of this.
Cope running very wide there, coming into Luffield, coming out of Brooklands and into Luffield there. Did well to keep that going. In fact, the two cars behind him, Broomhead and Warren, getting a little bit checked up there. And Warren goes by into second place.
I can't tell if Broomhead was letting him through or if he got caught out by seeing Davidson coming up behind him to let him lap them. Whatever the case, the result is that Waring is back into second place. Now, earlier on, Sam, we saw him hassling Thomas Cope quite intensely. I wonder if that's going to start all over again.
I think it needs to. He's got a good run here down the Hannah Straight. He's got a great exit out of Trapple. And as they head on into Stowe, he puts his nose to the inside of Cope. Cope takes a wide line. He goes out way wider than he should have done. And he's basically gifted the lead of the class over the Warren, or has he? He's going to come back down the inside. Hard braking zone here. And Thomas Cope is a little bit late on the brakes, but this track goes left and then goes right again. And now the racing line goes back into Warren's favour, and Broomhead's going to try and follow him through too. Cope was leading. He may be third once this is all said and done. Uses the runoff area to hold on ahead of Broomhead. So new leader, Andrew Warren. Thomas Cope is in second and Broomhead is in third. And Cope, once again, very slow there. Broomhead just flies by into second place.
I think he got a slow down penalty, Sam, for running wide in the last corner there. You just saw him check up. I actually thought he was brake checking for a minute there, but no, I think he got a slight slow down penalty. And what a disaster for Thomas Cope, because he was doing so well. Now that Andrew Warren has got free air, well, this is an interesting one. But I tell you what, though, Broomhead, he is right on him. He is channeling that Mansell mania, that's for sure. And also, I'll tell you who else has to have some Mansell mania is Caden Bin. He's in 7th place now, but he's got 9 seconds up as, Broomhead goes up the inside and then Warren cuts back as we come through Brooklands and into Luffield. This is Silverstone at its best, swapping back and forward. And all this has allowed Thomas Cope to recover, and he's going to have a go now.
Wow, Broomhead going from third to first in less than a lap. So how can Cope respond to that one? The irony of Broomhead and all these British references, he's hailing from Canada Club right now. So I don't know maybe if he has heritage here potentially. Still, he's going to have to defend from Andrew Waring, who is going to try and come back at him. They're side by side coming into Maggots and Beckett's, and that just doesn't work. So he's going to back out.
Yeah, this all started when Warren ran wide. As Peter mentioned, they were very close together. It was because of a mistake from Warren, and that allowed Broomhead to get the run down the Wellington Straight, take the lead. But now Warren's going to try again, but he's going to try and do it the hard way, looking on the outside as they head off into the Stowe corner. He made it work on the inside before. And yeah, there we go. I don't think there's as much grip on the outside, but maybe he can try and carry the speed on exit. Broomhead's not going to give him a whole lot of room. But once again, even though Warren has the inside here, Broomhead can just keep alongside him, but he can't. He could have had the inside on the next right-hander, but he doesn't. Warren has the lead again, as he had it before, and this time Warren's got to try and not make any mistakes, because it was his own slip-up, honestly, that kicked off that whole battle again. I am a little concerned for Broomhead and Cope that they have just let Warren go by and maybe go on to win this race, but Broomhead, if he tries to make something happen in the next couple of corners, he might be able to pose a legitimate challenge. However, I do feel that Warren, at the end of the day, is the faster driver. And if they... Oh, boy, almost contact there for second place as Cope gets right up behind Broomhead there. But if they allow Warren to escape, I don't think there's going to be any catching him.
Oh, and if those two keep fighting like that, look at the gap that's already been pulled by the 336. Warren, 0.6 of a second over Michael Broomhead. Now that they've calmed down, he could potentially reel that back in. Let's hop over to the GTE class, where the battle for third, Deans finds himself under threat.
Yep, the Simu-Cube train is being challenged by Ellis. A superb drive to catch up. So if the SimiCube guys have been flying in a mixed in a pattern of holding pattern, that's what I'm looking for. They've obviously not kept the pace up, and now they're being challenged by Alex Ellis, the number 9 car, who's really made his way onto the back of this group. And if Alex can mix up there, well, who's that going to benefit? Well, Caden Bin back in 7th place right now. So it's all hotting up here at Silverstone. But I must say, the GT4 battle has been a treat. Sometimes the GT4 racing, not in this series, but in other series, can be a little bit stale sometimes. But this race has been superb. But the thing about that car is, that little Cayman, is that it's not got a massive amount of power compared to its weight. So the momentum you carry is really important. And Thomas Cope and Broomhead just a little bit of rubbing together there, and that has given Waring that little bit of a breathing gap. But look, there you go. They've closed it back up again. Fantastic.
And you know what else could be closing here? If these three do continue to battle, is Colin Mekovic could run them down. Once again, Warren misses the apex there, an unforced error. Very rare to see that out of him, Joe. He's given away time and allowing Broomhead and Cope to keep up with him. I don't think we're used to seeing this many mistakes out of a driver of that 336.
Well, this is the most he's had to fight. I wonder if his tires are not quite what he's used to out here. There's a lot of high-speed corners at this track, and he needs all of the grip he can get. As they come down into Village once more, it swings back into the loop. You can see this snake of cars very close together, a little bit off the apex this time for Broomhead instead. Cope can't do anything with it. They're going to stay in a line as they hit the Wellington Straight.
We go then drafting battle down the Wellington Straight, down towards Brooklands, and the British Racing Drivers Club hard on the brakes into this really tricky section. And these technical sections in this particular car are absolutely vital to just get absolutely spot on, because you just don't have the horsepower to get out of trouble when you need it. You've got to be absolutely silky smooth. And, well, that is one thing you could use to describe Andrew Waring's driving style. But I have to say, guys, I'm super impressed with Broomhead. The body language of his car has been really racy, really aggressive, and I don't think this race is. I think this race is far from done in GT4. Just a quick update on GTE. That gap is pretty steady, just at about half a second or so between Deans and Ellis in 3rd and 4th place, and Cantu, he's not a million miles away either in 5th. So it's just simmering under the surface in GTE.
As we take a glance at them. Looking at Phil Deans here. Actually on board with Phil Deans as he gets right underneath Dakota Fripp. This has mercifully, from the shots that we've seen, been a little bit more of a calm race for Dakota. He's gotten back up into P2. He's looking to try and chase down Alex Simonic. Simonic, if he stays where he is, will get win number 4. That'll put him at twice the number of wins that Caden Bin has currently. And considering Caden is still stuck down in 7th and is almost 11 seconds back from Nick Rowland, I highly doubt that Caden's going to be able to add to his tally today.
Well, for Caden, he's just got to make sure that he just gets the maximum amount of points he can following that little bit of an incident on lap 1. Just damage limitation. And as we've seen many times in this Racing Edge series so far, that there can always be controversy, there can always be incidents, so there's still a long way to go in this championship. And for him, the main thing is not to get frustrated and just try and bag as many points as he can. Just trust his pace, because he is one of the fastest drivers. As we see big traffic, oh no, that is just the wrong place for the 3 SimiCube guys. That's not good news for Alex Simonic, but they all come through in formation there. And Ellis, who's not far behind, he's well in draft range there, but very busy traffic here at Silverstone.
And curiously, Deans did not try to overtake Dakota Fripp. So that seems to pay credence that there are some sort of team tactics going on here. And indeed, you are right about Alex Ellis. The SimiCube liveried group is suddenly joined by an interloper. The number 9 is only half a second back as we're right on board with him.
Yep, he's the great driver, best driver of the season so far for Alex Ellis, I would wager. And yeah, the thing is, Dakota Fripp and Deans, they are providing the perfect roadblock, they're basically providing a protective bubble around championship leader Alex Simonic. And to be honest, that is just a dream scenario. Poor old Caden Bin and most of the other drivers in this series are all on their own, and I tell you what, I can't say how much of an advantage that is for Simonic to have those two rear gunners, basically, effectively. So, ideal conditions, but he's got to get his way through all of this busy GT4 traffic and waste absolutely no time going past that wins machine there into Maggots Beck and Cops. Oh, that's one of the GT4s. The wins GT4 came into the wall there. I'll need to get a replay of that, see what happened there.
Zinn got tipped. He didn't hit anything, thankfully, but that was one of our leaders in the GTE class going through. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a penalty. I think it was for Phil Deans that caught him.
I think it might have been him, perhaps. Looks like it might be Ellis, guys.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
that just grabbed the edge there. Yeah, just an unfortunate incident. Not really any malice there from Alex Ellis. Just got a little bit kind of confused and a little bit unsighted there. It can easily happen with multi-class sports car racing, and unfortunately, Brian Zinn really paid the price there in that 73 wins machine.
At least he can continue on, but obviously that'll hurt his points haul today, being stationary for quite a while. Back up to the top of the GT4s. Nothing has changed since we last looked here. Waring leads Broomhead, leads Cope, and in fact, the distances between the cars are pretty much the same as well.
Yeah, and then of course these top three are going to have to deal with the GTE leaders coming through at some point again, so I'm sure that will mix everything up, but Cope trying to get by Broomhead for second. Yeah, and that's very unfortunate seeing that for Brian Zinn, because he's just coming off of his best finish of the season so far, sixth place finish at Le Mans, and he was running an 8th here at Silverstone. Oh, Cope is all over the back of Broomhead, but I think he needs to just be a little bit patient here, because it's kind of hard to make a pass through Maggots and Beckett's, but if he gets a good run here, he might be able to make something happen down the Hannah Straight.
Looks decent enough. There's that number 5 through the windscreen. He's going to get the slipstream up the Hangar Straight. He's pulling him in. Does he take a look? Broomhead's not covering him off, and despite closing in even more under braking, no attempt from the number 64 yet. Oh, here's another good run here, Sam.
Yeah, he's going to look down the inside as they head into the Vale chicane, and this should be a much easier pass. He was way up alongside Broomhead, late on the brakes, and Broomhead doesn't have anything to fight him with. All that allows Warren to run away a little bit, but again, this race isn't over yet. These drivers are going to have to deal with GTE traffic again within the last 10 minutes.
We've seen this gap come down before, so we'll come back to that a little bit later. Actually, we might see them sooner rather than later, because as we jump over to Cantu, chasing Ellis for P4, they're only a few corners behind. This is going to make it awful tricky when all the leaders suddenly barge through on our GT4 lead battle.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's bunching together, and the thing here is that Ellis and Cantu, if they can, they've got to work together. They've got to pair up and ally here, or as our colleague Richie Hearn says, be dancing partners with one another and help with the draft. So for the benefit of our viewers, basically there is an amazing benefit. If you've got a car in front of you punching a big hole in the air, it lowers the resistance on your car and therefore increases the speed. As we're coming up to our GT4 leaders, this traffic here could really shake up the order in GTE for sure. But I have to say, for Thomas Cope in GT4 in that number 64 machine, he's got to channel that Mansell Mania, that 1987 Mansell Mania where he chased down Nelson Piquet, just putting in qualifying lap after qualifying lap. Well, that's what Thomas Cope needs to do to get the win here. But Andrew Waring is looking very, very strong so far. But all happening here with both our GTE leaders and GT4 leaders on track in the same spot.
When Waring is dealing with both Cantu and Ellis having to go by in the Maggots and Beckett sequence, he's going to be able to get through. And actually, Cantu with a much better exit off of there as you see them come down the Hangar Straight. That is Ellis in the darker blue machine, with the lighter, the more vibrant blue being Cantu in the number 27.
Yeah, this is actually spread out the GT4 leaders quite a bit here, Peter.
It's in
there's a car off.
Cantu. Oh, we got one of the Caymans off there. Yeah,
Van
Cantu, most of the season was running the Porsche factory colours on the GTE car, but come to this race with his own custom schemes, and we've seen quite a few lovely custom schemes in this series.
Yep, that was one of the Van Moricks that was off and able to keep going on his own as we continue to follow the fight for what is 4th place behind Simonic, Fripp, and Deans, who are still flying in formation, as we said before. Not really changing much there. Fripp about 9/10 of a second off of Simonic. 7 minutes left. He's going to have to turn it up if he wants to take the win away from his teammate.
An update on Caden Bin. He's dropped back again, so there's something not right at all either. Just not comfortable with this Silverstone circuit for Caden Bin in the 23 machine. But there's either something wrong with his car, or he just really does not get on with this Silverstone circuit, because he's run up the front in every single race so far, but he's now back in 8th place. So this is huge for the championship.
I went and checked, and he got a slowdown penalty out of Chapel. So not the first victim of that at this track. Certainly won't be the last. So you see him coming on to the support pits, still having to redo all the work that he had done before to get up to 6th place, as he just gives enough room on the exit of Copse to Broomhead.
Yeah, I want to give an update on GT4 as well, Joe. Jeremy Steinhausen, I believe he was running quite solidly in the top 10. He got ran into by the GTE car of Roman Yolo when he came up to lap him, and Steinhausen crashed into the wall and has had to go to the pits.
Well, Roman said YOLO, and unfortunately he was the one that kept living. As we now watch Ronald being chased by Caden Bin. He's got it down to 3/10 of a second. This might be as far as he goes if he gets this pass done. He's looking around the outside coming into Vale, and he's not far enough alongside to try and pull something here. Still alternate lines between them. This is going to make it tough for Vervige. Is this going to allow Ben to get the shot that he wants? Not quite.
Well, Ronald Verwij, the Dutchman, is just being an absolute. He's got that, making that 911 RSR super wide, and for Caden Bin, this is just a disaster for him, for his championship aspirations. He knows he's quick, but just not coming together today at all. And Ronald Verwij basically making that car so wide and making this super difficult and keeping him back at bay. And I have to say, for Caden Bin, with Alex Simonic right at the front, it's just not good at all. And certainly Simonic, he's there on merit though, don't forget. He's up there at the front. He might have his 2 rear gunner teammates, but they're still running the best pace of anyone by far.
This is our best battle on the track right now. Only 5 minutes to go at this point. And Ben, just a racer at heart, is doing everything he can to try and make up for what was a miserable start to this race, and hasn't really seemed to improve all that much, with mistakes costing him through these 40 minutes. Nothing doing coming out of Copse as they come down to Maggots and Beckett's. I imagine he's going to try and set himself up for the exit out of Chapel.
Yeah, beautiful to see these cars flow through that section, left, right, using all the grip, both mechanical and aerodynamic. And of course, the noise, this symphony of these flat 6 normally aspirated engines, absolutely beautiful, ripping down the hangar straight. But of course, this car now being retired and replaced by a not quite as sonorous twin turbo machine that actually made its debut here at Silverstone back in August in the World Endurance Championship.
Another look. Last time this didn't work out for Ben. Oh, but this time much better over-under. Unfortunately, it puts him on the outside of the next corner. Even still, he finds the grip way around the outside as they come onto the main straight. This is going to give the inside to Ronald, the number 16. The question is, can he hold on? Ben turns in on him, and he's going to take the position away. Caden Bin will not be denied, and he moves into 7th.
High risk, high reward there from Caden Bin. My goodness me. That was a decisive move. He was coming through whether Ronald Verwij liked it or not. Good move, and that could be big for the championship later on in the season.
2 more to go when they come back to the start-finish line. Simonic ahead of Fripp, ahead of Deans. still in the position they've been for the majority of this race now. Fripp has closed this in, though. This was up to 9/10 of a second. Now it's down to 3/10 of a second. My question on this is, because we keep bringing up the team orders thing, Peter, I wonder if this comes down to let's stick together, don't fight for the majority, and then when it gets to those last laps, its gloves go off.
I think they'll be under strict instructions, I would imagine, to not challenge Simonic. He's the one going for a championship here, and for them, clearly they all race for the same team, for the SimiCube team, and well, that will play a lot into it. And for them, I mean, I tell you what, for those watching, what a great advert for SimiCube. Of course, make very high-end equipment for sim racing, steering wheels and things. So I tell you what, a good advertisement for them today, and isn't that what sim racing teams are all about?
But if they make wheels, should it be Sim-a-Circle? Sim-a-Cube?
Oh,
I mean,
so it's like
their marketing department.
Concept car design steering wheel.
So we ride on board with our leader, Simonic, still ahead of Fripp. And ooh, that got very close down through Village. Thankfully, no contact.
Yeah, there's certainly. I hope we don't see a Red Bull, Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel at Istanbul back in 2010, and when they're in command. I mean, this is a commanding lead that they've got. Alex Ellis has now dropped back over 3 seconds. He's now got to worry more about Cantu as well. So it looks like the SimiCube guys, they're all running here in flying formation with it'll be 1 to go as they go over the stripe.
I thought you were going to rub salt in the wound for Sam and call it a Leclerc and Vettel situation here for these drivers as they come through Cops one more time. This certainly seems to be like something is up among them, and I'm curious to watch what's going to happen when they get to the end. Now, more traffic in front of them. This time it's Christopher Bailey. Oh, Bailey's just going to dive off. Bailey doesn't want to cause any sort of issue, so nicely done by him. Now back onto the hangar straight. They've got just enough time to get to the line before this 1 minute winds up. They'll get the white flag out. And then that will be it for 40 minutes of racing. But the question is, who's going to be our winner? Not missing anything down for the GT4 lead. Warling is whole 1.5 seconds ahead of Cope. Broomhead has fallen way back, nearly 5 seconds from the top two. Big slide coming through club for Dakota Fripp. And is Dean's going to try and pounce on this?
Well, maybe a bit of bragging, inter-team bragging rights now. They might have an order to make sure that Simonic wins for the benefit of the championship, but second and third, well, that might be fair game. So let's see. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of civil war here between Fripp and Deans here at Silverstone, and maybe this is the battle we're going to think about for between second and third. So all of a sudden, Simonic's his rear gunners are now bickering between one another.
That was Damian Van Morik who let them through lap traffic within their class as they approach Zin. And Zin's already had issues with the leaders coming through. He holds off to the right side, probably trying to give them as much of a berth as possible to not suffer the same fate. And thankfully, he is not clipped this time. Warren just coming to the line now himself, about half a lap away from our GTE leaders. There is Cope behind him. You can see him. He does have to stay honest here. Warren cannot make a mistake in this last lap if he wants that win. Let's head over to our GTEs one more time because they come up to the hangar straight, and this will be the decisive moment on whether or not there's any sort of orders here. Simonic's got a good enough gap. I don't think Fripp's going to have a chance on him. Deans doesn't look like he does either. Unless someone gets a monster run coming out of Stowe here, it's unlikely we'll see any sort of passes in these last few corners. Way off the exit there for Phil Deans, trying to extend it out. And that's going to hurt him, actually, because I think he got a slowdown penalty from that. So Alex Simonic, once again, returning with a lot of speed and taking win number 4 here today at Silverstone.
Absolutely flawless performance from Alex Simonic. Got away on lap one. He had the protection of his teammates behind him, but I don't think it would have mattered. He really was the class of the field today, along with his Simicube teammates. And I have to say, my pound for pound driver of the day, Alex Ellis, getting up into 4th position. For me, his best drive of the season. Well done to the Canadian driver.
Looks like in the end, Ben was only able to do 7th place. So heading over to Andrew Waring, Cope losing more time. It was 1.6 seconds, now up to 1.9. So Andrew Waring, who is looking to catch up to Michael Morley and take yet another victory, just a dominant performance out of 6 rounds. And out of the 5 that he has shown up to, this will make a 5 for 5 record. And talking about Charles Leclerc, certainly not falling victim to the current woes of Ferrari here in his 336. Andrew Warren, we got to talk to him a little bit about that livery last week. Looks like we'll get to pick his brain a little bit more, because as he comes through Vale and then through Club, easily taking the win, even though he had to fight a little bit for it. The 336 takes the top spot here today in England.
Fifth place in the GT4 class, still up for grabs. So between Sidney Nye and Thomas Manning, this is only Manning's second race for the series. Nye has been racing all season, had a rough start to the season, but has been coming on strong in the last couple of rounds. Will he be able to have a top 5 to show for his performance? It depends on how good of a run Manning gets out of a final turn. It's not good enough, I don't think. Nye is going to hold on the 5th place, and Manning gets a nice 6 right behind him.
And that is going to take us to the break for our broadcast. We are not done yet, though. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming racing here on GSRC. Welcome back to Silverstone. Round 6 for the Racing Edge Esports Series. Wound up having some great battles. But up at the top of the GTEs, we're not sure if it actually was a battle. Alex Simonic took the victory, starting from 3rd, followed home by his 2 teammates. Dakota Fripp was in 2nd, returning from his 1-race ban, and Phil Deans wound up in 3rd. Deans coming from 5th, so not a bad climb for him. Alex Ellis as well coming forward and taking 4th place. Nick Rowland. This is a quiet race that we really should have been able to give a little more credit, from 13th to 5th, but we just didn't have time with the action on track. Caden Bin, unfortunately, we didn't get to go back and look at what happened to him that caused him to fall back at the very beginning, but he could only climb to P6 in the end, and then Ronald Vervage winds up in 7th. Aiden Shadbolt was P8 with Alex Herrera in 9th. Giuliano Romagnolo went from 10th to 10th. Not the usual better results that we're used to seeing from him. Stephen Jeffrey was 11th. Cantu, who was fighting for a podium at one point, wound up in 12th. And then Daniel Morad rounds out the top 13 that finished in the GTEs 1 lap down. Sam?
Andrew Warren once again takes a win over in the GT4 class ahead of Thomas Cope, a solid performance by him for second in class. Michael Broomhead gets third in the race, which, I don't know how thrilled he'll be with that. We might have a chance to talk with him. Colin McAvitt, after one race off, he comes back and places fourth ahead of Sidney Nye in fifth place. I believe that's his first top five of the season. Thomas Manning, in just his second race of the season, finishes in sixth. And then we have a few drivers who ran into trouble during the race but bounced back to score points, including Stephen Sheriff in seventh place, Michael Ogren gets eighth, Phil Schrader in ninth, and where it says Phil Beans in 10th in class, that's not him, that's actually Derzik was racing that car today. Brian's in, unfortunately he'll be on the outside of the points after his spin. He comes home in 11th place ahead of Damien Van Murick. Christopher Bailey was involved in an incident early, 13th in class ahead of Charles Beauchel, and after that you start to get to the cars who were involved in pretty significant crashes and probably don't want to be reminded that they were part of this race.
Well, three drivers that want to be reminded that they were in this race are Simonic, Fripp, and Deans, who were all in the same team. So we have had a request to interview them all together. Not sure if they got something special here as we pull them in and get ready to talk to the three of them. We'll start with our race winner, Alex Simonic. Alex, congratulations. Let's see if you can settle the debate here. Was that team orders to let you have the win?
Okay, so if you're watching my stream, also there's someone up there, Dakota's up there, but if you're watching my stream, I said, can I have the win so that I can gain the championship points? And then they all, Dakota and Phil basically said, like their tone was like, no. So we just started to battle it out more. But I think the only reason why I won that race was because of my experience in the Autobahn League previous, as you know, Joe. I used to do that for a while. And my skills with managing traffic has improved immensely since that league.
I don't doubt it. That league is still the same in terms of managing traffic, I can tell you. Let's move down to Dakota Fripp, who is in second place. A much better result than the previous round you were here. Dakota, you had a little bit of time to cool down from the stewards. How do you feel now that you've come back and returned on the podium?
Yeah, it was a fun time. So managing the GT4 traffic was a little easier, of course, at this track than it was at Road Atlanta. So yeah, just fun to come back to the series and race with my teammates and friends.
It was a joy watching you return and get a good result under your belt. And so let's head over to Phil then. Phil, you wound up in third, but you three swapped around quite a bit at first. And it seemed like coming to the end, you and Dakota maybe had some thoughts about battling. Was it kind of gloves off for whoever took second between you two?
Yeah, I think we were all fighting to catch up to Alex, but he was pretty much the strongest in the second half of the race. So I'm happy to come away with a third on my debut in this series. So I'd say it was a good race.
Absolutely. One last one with Alex before we let you three go. Again, congratulations on the victory. This gives you double the wins for Caden, and you've only got 2 rounds left. How secure do you actually feel, though?
Knowing that I have Dakota and Phil to battle with, and Ilka Hapola to battle with for the last 2 races, it's going to be very difficult. My philosophy when I'm racing is just like slow and steady wins the race, not like go all out in the first few laps. But I feel like the next round is going to be even more intense than what it was here.
I have no doubt about that. Well, thank your sponsors and who you need to thank before we let you go, guys. And again, congratulations on sweeping the podium.
Very much. Yeah, we would like to thank Vendaval Sim Racing for, I guess, being an excellent sim racing organization for us, as well as our sponsors SimiCube, Draw Once, and Velco.
Yep, I echo what Alex said.
Yep, me too.
Alex Simonic, Dakota Fripp, and Phil Deans, first, second, and third, respectively, in our GTE class, and all teammates. Up next, our winner in the GT4, Sam, has caught up with Andrew Waring. This is becoming regular.
Yes, it is. Okay, Andrew, At Le Mans, you went 16th to first. It would be very easy to write that easily as your best win of a season. But I think this one's a pretty good competition for that. That was fun there during the middle of a race.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite surprised by Mr. Cope. He stepped it up in qualifying a lot, and honestly, his race pace is impressive. And Mike as well. I think he kind of got shafted a bit with the lap traffic or maybe some tire wear issues. But the three of us to be within a tenth in qualifying, and then the first 20 minutes of the race was covered within a second. It was a really good race. It was actually really, yeah. I think also it was probably the most enjoyable race for me. That and this Watkins and Le Mans are definitely tied for the most enjoyable.
Now, you mentioned that their pace was strong, and that's true. However, I have to bring up the fact that at some point during the race, you got through to the lead, and then I said, "Oh, there we go. Andrew Warren's leading this race. He's gone and won it." And then you completely overshot a couple of corners and allowed them both to get right back up to you. It looked like you were making a couple of little mistakes out there. What was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, the tire wear around this track in those cars is quite significant, and a couple laps before, I just spent my tires trying to catch up to them after I got that slowdown, and yeah, just didn't anticipate it. And then honestly, at the end of the race, like I kept getting faster and faster, expecting Thomas to fall off the back of me, but he kept getting closer and closer. So that's just also them. Like they brought it. They were able to step up to the pace I provided, and it was really really good. I was under a lot of pressure on the last couple laps because he was catching me pretty good.
With Morley and Fellows not being here today, that obviously meant that providing you finished in the top 10, you're going to get a little bit of an advantage in the championship. Did that change your approach at all to the race today?
Um, Not really. Like one of the best parts about this league is being able to race the same guys over and over again. So when I saw Mike and Cope were here, I still knew it was going to be a great race, which is what I'm all about. Points kind of come second. It sucks that they weren't there because I feel like a five-way fight would have been fantastic to watch. But um, you never know what can happen in the last two rounds. There's still a mathematical shot for them to come back and get the championship. So you never know.
Well, we look forward to seeing what will happen. Congrats on your win today. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, just those two, Mike and Thomas, the great competitors, and you guys, GSRC, for doing an outstanding broadcast. I always watch it back, and it's fantastic. Racing Edge for all the hard work they do in putting this series on. It's fantastic to be able to race for prize money on a Tuesday night. So
All right. And that was your race winner, Andrew Warren. Peter, you have called up with our second place finisher.
Thomas Cope, what a fantastic performance to claim second place today at Silverstone. Was it, we were talking about Mansell Mania in the commentary box. Was the home field advantage, was that a factor today?
I wouldn't really say home field advantage. I haven't really raced this track too much around iRacing, but I do practice it a lot, and feeling the hometown circuit, yeah, it gave me a boost of confidence, let's say, just to try and go out there and win this race.
You gave it a good go, and you've certainly kept us guessing with some fantastic livery options throughout the season. Tell us a bit about what was on your car today.
So Geriatric Ginger Rick, who's the steward for this series, he's probably made about 80-70% of these car liveries, and I want to give a big shout out to him. He designed the birthday one and the one I have been running for the last couple of races, and this was just a little concept that he was working on, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked it, and it went so well. Being rusty, I've missed out on podiums. I've not been performing to the best. So I thought change of livery, and I might get a change of look, and look where it's gotten me. It's put me on the podium, obviously.
I'll have to be here to stay. Now, before we let you go, while you're live here on the Global SimRacing Channel, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to live on the broadcast?
So big shout out to Ginger. He's made the liveries, and big thank out to Racing Edge for the series. It's really done me help and bringing my confidence up in the game. I'm really loving the competition, and obviously battling with Andrew like we was really good. and just shout outs to my family and friends who really support me and egg me on to do this sort of stuff.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming up to join us in the commentary box, and we'll see you hopefully next time as Sam is with Michael Broomhead.
And let's see, Joe, you got something you want to say to Mike, or?
Well, yeah, I have a big question for Mike right off the bat. I noticed that you hail from Club Canada, but you've got the British flag on your car and the number 5. Is that significant to racing at Silverstone, though, those two factors?
Very keen eye. That's exactly why I'm number 5. And yeah, of course, you can tell by the accent I am from there. But of course, I'm in Southern Ontario, like a lot of the drivers here. But I just wanted to represent my my country in the home race, so to speak.
Well, fantastic stuff. It was exciting to watch you fighting with both Thomas and Andrew. It seemed for a part of the first portion of the race, you were just kind of hanging back. Were you kind of watching to see what they would do with this one, or were you running at the absolute maximum pace?
I mean, I don't want to big myself up, but yeah, I was kind of just watching what they were doing, just to see if anybody was going to do a lunge or anything like that, and I could, sneak away with something a little bit more. But of course, the pace they had was pretty good. So it was actually, it was hard to even just keep up with them and catch up a little bit. But once we had our battles, it was very clean, very exciting. Those guys were an immense drivers, really fun to drive with them, and it was just overly enjoyable. I mean, traffic was bad, but at the end of the day, still podium, so that's what matters.
Of course, next round we head over to Barcelona. Have you had much time to practice at that track, especially with this GT4?
I have not bought the track yet, so we're going to see how that goes.
Well, you'll have to tell us, how you get along with that track, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you about it. Congratulations on a podium and some cash today. Anybody you want to thank before you take off here?
Yeah, as always, the Elise Foundation, please go and check them out. It's a very good cause. But also go and check out the 7th Gear Over Rev show. I was on it. It was released today in podcast form. Please go and take a look at that. Have a listen. It's about sim racing and comparative stuff to the real world as well. So please have a look.
That sounds right up my alley. I'll have to give that a listen. And that was our 3rd place finisher in the GT4s, Michael Broomhead. But we're going to close up today with a big thank you, of course, to Racing Edge, the promoter of this series. And again, if you want to check them out, you can find them at racingedge.com. Also, thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Sam, Peter, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store. We've got a link in the description below. And while we're down there, make sure and hit the big red button that says subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet. The next race, as we mentioned, going to be Barcelona. That'll be Tuesday, July 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And don't miss, in just a few minutes, we're heading over to Imola, the PRL GTE series. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.